bit on what you do?
Sure. My name is Keith Dallas. I am a writer, creator. Mostly my two writer-creator books are Omega Chase, which is published by Third World Studios, which is about a guy who has memories of 3 different lifetimes. He has memories of being a Texas sheriff in the 19th century. He has memories of being a starship commander in the far future. And he has memories of being an archer in a band of medieval adventurers. And so the whole premise is, he's trying to figure out who he is, just as you're trying to figure out who he is as a reader. So that was essentially my first creator-owned book published. The second one that I have is called The Argonauts. That's essentially about a group of heroes from different time periods who are gathered together to stop an alien invasion of Earth. But because they're all from different time periods and different places, so you have like 2 characters from the Viking Age and 3 characters from the future and 1 character from modern times. Because they're all from different times and different places, they can't communicate. They all obviously speak different languages. So that becomes the prevalent theme of that book, is sort of like the Tower of Babel, how we all miscommunicate more than we communicate. So I guess the intrigue of the book is seeing if these characters can find a way to figure each other out before the aliens come and,
Destroy them all.
Right.
Where do you get your inspiration from?
Well, I've been a comic book reader, pretty much all my life. A lot of stuff is sort of, like Omega Chase is actually based on or inspired by a Star Trek episode. And if I revealed what the episode was, that would tell you exactly. But it's like you're watching a movie or watching a television show, or you're reading a story, and you sort of say, that's interesting, but what if we change this? What if we, I think it's sort of, the old cliche, there's nothing new under the sun, so you try to, play around with story elements and things like that, and just, you also try to root stories with the characters. If the character's not interesting, then you don't have a story, you just sort of have explosions.
Right.
So most importantly is just trying to start out with, okay, let's start out with this character and figure out who this character is and how he would interact with these characters and see if something interesting develops from that. My other work, it concerns TwoMorrows Publishing, where this is published in 2008, The Flash Companion, which is essentially the history of the Flash. All 4 Flashes since World War II. So we have, interviews and articles about the writers, editors, and artists who worked on the Flash. That was a lot of fun to put together. The next book I'm doing for TwoMorrows is called American Comic Book Chronicles, and it is a year-by-year account of the comic book industry during the 1980s. So, the most popular comic books published then, the industry, goings on, things like that, and that should be out next year. I think that'll be out next year. Like a 250-page hardcover. That's been fun and very difficult, challenging. It's a very challenging type of project, just because, especially when you're talking to the creators from the 80s, a lot of whom just flat out say to me, well, Keith, you're asking me about stuff that happened, 25 years ago. So, thankfully, you go back in the 80s, there were a lot of publications like Comics Interview, Comics Buyer's Guide, Comics Journal that had interviews of the creators, but a lot of them sort of conflict with each other. So that's been one of the biggest challenges, is trying to reconcile 3 or 4 different accounts of the same incident. So that hasn't been going as, you know, I haven't been writing that as quickly as I wanted, but I think it's something in the end I think I'll be pretty proud of.
What other things do you have in the works?
Well, if Ghostbusters takes off, for IDW I wrote a Ghostbusters one-shot, and they just started publishing a new ongoing. So if that sells well, then I'm told that I'll be in the you know, writer rotation for that series. So it's basically that and the 1980s book, and trying to talk to as many, you know, editors and publishers, and, you know, throw my name out there as much as possible. But mostly the 80s book has really been taking the lion's share of my time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Pizza over there, guys.